every other domain of my existence or realm, I've sort of seen the grit behind the glitz, the science behind the art, so to speak, which on one level can be liberating, on another level it can be limiting. So you understand how systems work, how people claim to be the transcendent observer who knows everything, far from it. But I've started to see how things work. And like I say, I'm a great believer in work ethic trumping talent. And it's funny because I was reading, an article again today, especially it was talking about how in certain countries there might be the myth or the narrative of genius or prodigious talent that prevails over work ethic. So it links back to that basically in terms of my personal search to find magic in the world at this stage of my life. So as a child, you have that sense of wonder, imagination, being beguiled by what's out there. For me, that's gone. With maturity, which means I'm probably a bigger, better, faster, stronger, more capable adult who is adulting. But it means deep down I long for that childlike. I think there's a Kanye lyric where he says, "My childlike creativity." I can't remember. It will come back to me. But yeah, I'm still yearning for that childlike sense of wonder and magic, that utopic impulse. And really, it's about my search, my quest for that. And I utilize the image of Medusa wearing a weave as a exemplar of that. So that actually came from a line in the poem Medusa Wore a Weave. So with that poem, I just wanted to fit in as many metaphors and images pertaining to horror, the gothic, macabre, scary flicks as possible. So if you look at that poem, I'll bring it up now. There's all sorts of motifs from horror films, whether it's, let me see, I'm struggling to find, I should know that off my head. So yeah, we've got like Beowulf, werewolves, demons, angels, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, sirens, etc., etc. And so I had the line where I talk about terrifying visions, head is scared stiff, don't despair for nightmares, stare down the Blair Witch. So originally that's a reference to a 2004 BBC series called The Power of Nightmares by Adam Curtis, who's a really innovative filmmaker who makes very politicized films in a very innovative method whereby he takes a lot of archival footage and juxtaposes that with interviews with key players from political history, and then he has himself narrating events in a very distinct voice. His most recent work is a piece called Bitter Lake, which is about a 2-hour film. Watch that. But yeah, The Power of Nightmares was something that I referenced in this poem that I changed the line up a bit. So instead of saying The Power of Nightmares, switched to Don't despair for nightmares, stare down the Blair Witch. So first and foremost, it actually came from the need to rhyme a couplet or have that multi-syllable rhyme scheme. So I'm like, linking it to lines before I had, Goliath system, terrifying visions, tyrants listen, etc. And then so the line went from terrifying visions, had a scared stiff. I'm like, what can I rhyme with scared stiff? And I was like, Blair Witch rhymes with scared stiff. So first of all, it was purely utilitarian. It was necessity. I need a 3-syllable rhyme scheme that rhymes with scared stiff. Blair Witch. And then I'm like, hair hissed links to Blair Witch, Gorgon, Medusa. So then I was like, the Gorgon's hair hissed, Medusa wore a weave. And now I've got the wore a weave, 3-syllable rhyme scheme now. So I'm thinking, what works with that? Sorcery. So then smoke on the water, 21st century sorcery, composed in source code, encrypted for security. So there's a lot of alliteration, sibilance, internal rhyme, etc. So first and foremost, that title comes from a line in the poem, but that line really exemplifies this whole notion of illusion and reality, magic, mystery, technology, the organic world, etc. And I was just like, such a vivid image, Medusa wore a weave, because the very thing that we're most terrified of isn't real, and fear is something that holds us back as human beings immensely. And I speak, from a personal level. As a child, I was quite shy, nervous, apprehensive, and for me, what gave me my confidence was rapping. that for me really was like a steroid injection. I got my self-esteem, my confidence, my swag from rapping. And there was a point where I quit rapping, so I had this calamitous fall and I had to pick myself up again. It's literally, I died before I died, to quote the spirit. I died before I died, to quote a certain spiritual tradition, to be reborn, but in a present sense. So I just had this notion of Medusa World Weaver. It's just a really powerful image, and the whole book deals with that notion of illusion and reality, truth and falsehood. So, yeah, it was a convenient, visceral, vivid shorthand for the entire content and premise of the book. And whenever I told anyone the title of that, just like, that title is mad. Like every single person was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, and linking it to the cover art now, and I think we might have a connection here.
I want to hear yours.
Yeah, there was a Canadian artist, a Somali Canadian artist whose name escapes me. That might be her.
She's one of my friends. Yeah.
There you go. And she has this image on her page of a woman. I think her face is like blue and literally her hair is on fire. And I think it's like a starscape behind her. And I was like, that's my book cover. And her art is reminiscent of a lot of this Afrofuturism art by another artist whose name escapes me, but will come back to me. So I was like, I want that as my cover. And I tried reaching out to her. I couldn't really connect with her. So I was there for about 4 months thinking, I need an image. I couldn't find the right thing. Anyway, I have a buddy called Zara Amoy, who's an amazing illustrator, and I first encountered her work in 2015, going to see The Last Poets perform in Brixton.
Yes.
And I saw a mural of hers. I was like, this art is sick. And I saw her Instagram handle, and just followed her, and then we connected. We connected digitally as is.
As it goes.
Yeah. As is the case in 98% of all my, relationships and connections these days. And yeah, just befriended her via Instagram and whatnot, stayed in touch. And then literally 2017, it was like January, February. This time actually last year, 2018, sorry. And she hadn't posted in months, and then she posted this image, which is now the front cover. But I was like, that is the cover of my book, man. Like, I said, I was like, you had me at microphones and snakes. Like, and I used to have that same Shure microphone. I actually had that microphone myself. I actually won it in a rap battle. That's another story in itself. The actual original artwork was slightly different to what we have now. So originally the mirror just had her signature on, but I was like, yo, I want a black mirror with fire on it. That sort of reflects what's going on in my soul right now. So yeah, that's the sort of story behind it. In many ways, it's best to ask Zara what the rationale behind her art is, because it's her work that she, kindly gave to me to use for my artwork. So there's her own thought process behind it that precedes my sort of using it with my work. So I was like, this is a perfect fit for what I'm writing about. But I think if you look at her artwork, she has these really, really distinct collages, and there's a lot in this sort of style. So I'm turning the book into an album at the moment. So she's doing artwork for that as well. In terms of the interior art, that's by a designer called Abby Wright, who, again, I've known for a number of years, met her via Instagram. I actually interviewed her for a project I used to write for called Afropean. So again, for years we'd be saying we need to collaborate together. So yeah, we hooked up, and it was again her idea to take the snake motif and use it as a thread throughout the book, which obviously Nasim has her own very distinct illustrations in the book, and it creates this sort of linear continuity through it. So me and Abby worked on the design for about a year. Abby is an amazing designer, curator, art director. So my first degree was in visual communications. So I'm very much a graphic design guy myself. I mean, it's all Abby's handiwork, but I was very, hopefully not too annoying to her, but I was just very, very particular about what I was like, can you change this? Can we include this? So, I give you an example for the poem Heartbroken Mind Open, where it has this distinctive O shape.
Yes, I was looking at that.
Actually, I sort of borrowed, as with all our, it's inspired by something else. There's a friend of mine called Sheila Naughty, who's an amazing filmmaker, and I saw an interview with her, and it had a very distinctive layout on the page, where there was one letter, and the font was sort of structured around it. So I was like, that would work for Heartbroken Mind Open. So I was like, yo, Abby, I need you to make this O and then have the the footnotes in the middle, and then the right. So it's a very collaborative process, but the whole layout in terms of the splash pages, the quotes, that was all her vision. And I just make suggestions, and she'd apply it and be just so patient and kind. So yeah, I mean, it was just an honor working with both of the girls, man. They're utterly amazing boss ladies, amazing women. Yeah, it was just a big honor and privilege. So hopefully we're going to be doing a lot more stuff in the future. But please check out the work. Azara Amoy and Abby Wright, two of the most talented people you'll meet, and lovely people as well.
The only other question I have is, did the title for the book... Sorry, you said the title for the book came from a poem.
Yeah.
Did you already have the idea of writing a book before you wrote that poem?
Yes, that was one of the latter poems. So basically I had a real burst of fecundity, I think I said the word correctly, but a very prolific period between 2016 to 2017 where I wrote the bulk of this collection, and in particular a lot of the latter. So I split it into two sides, which is a nod to my musical background. The side B, so to speak, is a lot more complex, shall we say? Yeah.
I'm interrupting.
Yeah. We'll come back to you. Don't worry. I know your talent as an artist. You are sick.
No problem. No. Is that your book?
Yeah. My esteemed colleague's book. So.
Yes.
Your poets?
Yeah. We have a local creative who's just asking us about our.
You've both done
and we've been.
Yeah, that's Tommy's book, and this is mine.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank
Merci
you so
beaucoup.
much. Thank you.
Yeah, go on. So you're asking about the
poetry, I love it. I love all this kind of thing. Gosh.
You can have that copy if you like.
No.
Let me
You roll those
let
like
me
joints.
just write in it real quick.
That's so I'm used to. I'm not used to that. Yeah, I roll it cold. I don't ever use filter.
I watched you roll it, and I was like,
Yeah.
this should be a joint.
I wish, man.
I got the pre-roll, son.
Yo, Jamily. Is it a village for the village?
Of course.
It's a village. But yeah, yo, like, all right. Been missing another
Let me
couple.
actually, sorry.
If I want to find you guys, I
Really
can find you on the internet.
Yeah, within the matrix.
What's going on over here though? The green situation, guys. Because I know Karen's a mod. I live there.
And poetry is my other love.
I've just done a film last year called Cannabis is Illegal, comedy film.
Yeah.
That was fucking fun. But other than that, I mean, it's just become legally, what's it called, medically.
It's one step
That's
towards
the step, you know.
But yo, be careful, eh? You want to talk about legalization?
Yeah, get in touch on the...
Yo, everyone's still shook when they're getting their treats. They can't, like...
Be good, take care.
That's like, yo, man, here you go. I'm like, yo, bro, hold it down. He's like, bro, what? It's legal. I'm like, yeah.
Nah.
All right. All right, sure, buddy. Yeah, you can't believe it. I mean, 2 times out. It's true.
So the bulk of the poems I wrote between 2016 to 2017 on my phone whilst traveling around Londinium. The oldest piece in here dates from 2013. Somebody I used to know, which was written on a bus in Morocco, going from Marrakesh to a seaside town whose name I'll struggle to pronounce. I won't say it. So basically, in writing, it was 5 years, and the actual art took about a year to do. So the last year of those 5 years, should we say? So yeah, it's a process over time, but I settled on the title towards the end, which is when I wrote the title poem, so to speak. But I just felt it really encapsulated that whole struggle or grapple or dichotomy between those different realms of understanding that I was personally exploring in the book. So, yeah, man.
Since we're short for time, I'm going to quickly ask you a few questions about your book.
Yeah, of course.
So, what was swept under the Persian rug?
Yes.
What was swept under the Persian rug?
What was swept under the Persian rug? Yo, everything. So many parts of myself. A lot. There's a lot there. So the work in itself is the title was developed when I was around 17 maybe. That's when I thought of the title, and that's when I was like, I'm gonna do a book. And the book itself is a collection of pieces from when I was 12 to around 17 years old. And